Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of where you are. It's always a great time to have a conversation about the gospel and especially enlightened by the Spiritist doctrine. Today, we're going to discuss chapter 22 of the book Our Daily Bread, and the title of the chapter is Fickleness. Before we begin, I would like to thank Kardec Radio for the opportunity that it provides to all of us to have discussions like this and to help in the dissemination of Spiritism. Kardec Radio is in several platforms, social media platforms, and it is even possible to send comments and questions to Kardec Radio using the X platform, which was formerly known as Twitter. Before we begin, I'd like for us to close our eyes and connect to our spiritual benefactors in prayer. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that we always have to gain new knowledge, to expand our minds, and to open up our hearts. Thank you for the gospel. Thank you for Christ's message. Thank you for Spiritism and all the enlightenment that is being provided to so many people over so many years. May your peace be always with us, and in the moments of doubt, let us never forget the lessons of learning and the teachings that we receive from the gospel and by the spirits through the Spiritist doctrine. May God's love be with all of us, always, so be it. So today we're going to be discussing chapter 22 of the book, Our Daily Bread, and it's titled Fickleness. Very interesting because it is based on James chapter 1, verse 6. And the verse reads like this: because he who doubts is like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by wind. So James here is referring to those who seek knowledge, to seek an understanding. And in this particular case here, he was referring directly to the teachings of the gospel. But of course, all of us can expand those ideas to the knowledge that we receive also through Spiritism. So if we are studying Spiritism, if we are immersing ourselves in the doctrine, if we believe, again, that we reincarnate, if we believe that there is a spiritual world, if we believe also in action and reaction, that whatever actions we take, whatever it is that we do in our present life is going to impact us either in this life or in a future life, and that we are responsible for our actions. So if we believe in those principles, so why not put those into practice? Why not put those into our lives instead of being doubtful of those? Emmanuel explains here to us that this is in the first paragraph, and that undeniably there is scientific and philosophical doubt in the world that, enmeshed within loyal hearts, constitutes a precious stimulus towards the achievement of elevated convictions. Apostle James here refers to the fickleness in man, who, by seeking to receive divine benefits in the sphere of personal advantages, customarily pursues varying situations on earth in the area of intellectual investigation, without a firm goal of relying in the substantial values of life. So Emmanuel is, first of all, reminding us that first of all, our doubts in this case here, our drive, we all have our drives, our philosophical and scientific drives to succeed here on earth. And that's a valuable thing. It is actually something that drives us to learn more, to expand our minds, to get more experienced, to build our network, be that professional or our network of friends, to pursue our betterment of our lives in different aspects. So this is so important. Now, what Emmanuel is cautioning us here is not to allow those to become an impediment for our spiritual advancement. On the contrary, that besides what our struggles might be, and actually whatever efforts that we put in life. We should stay firm also in our convictions. We should never sell ourselves. I'm sorry. We should never sell ourselves out just because to the temptations of the world in our pursuit of success by material means. Again, the Spiritist doctrine does not oppose for us to pursuing our improvement. However, we should behave in accordance to our values. And our values as Spiritists, again, are for those who believe that there is a spiritual world, are for those that believe that we are immortal souls, and whatever it is that we attain here in life is just is what we're actually borrowing those resources for our experience here on Earth. And the most important aspect of our lives are those moral accomplishments, and of course also the intellectual accomplishments, because those are the ones that we take with us. So, and Emmanuel cautions here that he who tries to trespass several doors simultaneously will be unable to cross any. So again, we should not show fickleness. So we have to stay true to what we believe in. So we cannot believe and profess Spiritism and try to disseminate Spiritism or study Spiritism, and in our moments of action put everything aside and behave in accordance to guidelines that go in that are do not correspond to our beliefs, to what it is that we're internalized with. So in other words, may our actions reflect, may the morality of our actions reflect what we study and what is it that we know about, again, about Spiritism, about the spiritual world, about reincarnation, what have you. All those important concepts that we've been studying, let's make sure that we do apply those in our daily lives, in our experiences. And Emmanuel reminds us here that frivolities jeopardize the people on every path, mainly in work positions, in illness of the body, and in affectionate relations. So we see here that, first of all, he mentions work positions. So a lot of times we are tempted in our careers, might those careers be in any field that we have chosen in this present life. We are tempted to sometimes act in accordance or actually act not in accordance to Spiritism so that we can move ahead in our careers, so that we can grow in the hierarchy of society. And again, and Emmanuel is highlighting that um, because we should not, in those situations, we should be, even in our professional lives, we should never put aside our moral values. We should never forget everything that we've been studying with Spiritism. And he proceeds here providing another example as well when in illness. So how many times we feel ill and we fell in despair. We fall in despair. And we are forgetting, we forget that all of our friends, that we have so many friends that are with us. Of course, our families here on the material plane, and also our friends, but especially those spiritual friends who are with us as well, who are willing to help us. So even in moments of illness, let's not forget all the help that we can get. Actually, when we are ill, we should not despair. We should not forget divinity. On the contrary, those are very important moments for us to continue professing and even model all the proper spiritist behavior that we've been learning for whatever time that we've been studying Spiritism. And the last example here is affectionate relations. So relationships are always so complicated. May those relationships be with our families, with our parents, with our children, and of course with our spouses if we are married and have children, or may also be romantic relationships as well. And going back also to the professional relationships with our neighbors, relationships with our friends, and even relationships with those who consider themselves our enemies. So as we deal with different individuals, may, regardless of the circumstance, let us also not forget what we know, and let's employ the knowledge that we received in Spiritism, the enlightenment that has given to us by Spiritism and in the gospel in those relationships, so we can be our best in any of those circumstances. Okay, and going back again, in work, illness, in our relationships, regardless of the situation or any other situation, let's strive to be our best and give in each circumstance the best that we have. And of course, our part of our best, it is touched by the Spiritist doctrine. And Emmanuel continues here, in order for anyone to be able to judge correctly regarding a particular experience, it is necessary to enumerate the years that he has spent living with its characteristics. So again, it's hard for us to judge us, ourselves, and all others as well. So as it's hard for us to even understand ourselves, um, and um, and even in, of course, in that expense, and it is even harder for us to understand others. So take the time to understand that each one of us is an individuality that has been built over centuries, and those good virtues that we have, and other in those aspects that we still need to work on, our defects. So everything is part of us. So the same way that we have those peculiarities, others have those as well. And the same way that it takes years for us to understand ourselves, if we are ever able to understand ourselves, it is even harder to understand others and to put ourselves in the shoes of others. And Emmanuel continues here explaining that we must, above all, confide sincerely in the wisdom and in the mercy of the Almighty, understanding that it is indispensable to persevere with someone or some cause which will assist and edificate us. So, regardless of what we do, we should persevere with our beliefs, and we also should persevere in our faith as well. We should have trust in the wisdom, in the mercy of the Almighty. We should have faith in God, because God is just, God is good, and God oversees everything. The universe is managed by God's laws. So let's put our trust in God, because again, whatever happens in the universe, and whatever impacts us, it is being authorized by God, and it is for our own benefit, even if we do not see that benefit right away. So again, maybe in the good moments, and in those moments that could be better, I was gonna say the bad moments, but those moments that could be better, let us never forget the what we know, and what in Spiritism we enumerate as the attributes of God. Again, being God being good and just, being the primary cause of everything, the supreme intelligence of the universe. So this is our God, a loving God, a loving Father, a very wise, very intelligent creator who oversees the whole universe, and including what happens in our lives. Emmanuel continues here, indicating that those unstable people remain figuratively represented like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by wind. And it'll be convenient for me to point my finger at others, but it is important for all of us to look in our lives, to reflect, to have some self-awareness. And we will see that in moments when we forget our values, in moments that we forget the solid rock that Spiritism and the gospel also provides to us. So once we remove that platform, then that's how we feel. We feel like a wave of sea blown and tossed by the wind because we have no direction, we have no focus, we have no guide. But of course, why should we forget about everything? No, we should not. We should employ our guide. We should employ the teachings that we received in the gospel and by spirits as well, because those are not just lessons for us to be learned in our minds. Those are lessons that should be internalized in our hearts and put into action again, regardless of the circumstance. Finally, Emmanuel reminds us here that when you are of service or when you are waiting for the blessings from on high, do not allow yourself to be affected by an obsessive anxiety. So we see here the need for us not to be anxious if we're waiting, if we are going through moments of tribulations and we're waiting for the blessings, we're waiting for the help. Let's not be anxious. The Father disposes of innumerable instruments to administer goodness. He's always the same paternal Father through all of them. So there are so many ways we can be touched. There are so many different ways we can be helped. So let's not feel like a wave of the sea blown and tossed by the wind, especially in those moments of difficulties. That let's not allow anxiety and like Emmanuel explains here, obsessive anxiety take over. Let's not allow that to happen. Let us remember again that God is just and is good, and God will provide. And there are so many different ways that we can be helped. And a lot of times, the way the help, the assistance might reach us, or the assistance might reach a loved one, somebody we love, somebody we care about, depending on the circumstance, might be a surprise, might be God acts in mysterious ways, and we might be surprised of how many different ways we might be blessed and how many different ways we might be assisted by God and by our spiritual friends. And Emmanuel finalizes here, indicating that the blessing will reach you, but it depends on you in the manner that you proceed in the constructive struggle, persisting or not, confidently, without which the divine power will encounter natural obstacles to manifest itself in your path. So let's never forget those circumstances that the blessing will reach us. And sometimes, again, the blessing will reach us in unexpected ways. And sometimes the blessing itself will be unexpected. However, that help that God will provide, and our spiritual friends and our spiritual mentor will provide to us, it is going to be easier also if we make it, if we help. Like the old saying goes, you got to help somebody to help us, right? The famous help me help you. So that applies to us in those circumstances. So if I'm anxious, if I'm angry, if I have resentment, and especially if I forget to connect to my spiritual friends via prayer, so it just makes it so much more difficult for the assistance to come. And of course, in those moments as well, we might block our minds, and by blocking our minds, also we close ourselves to any inspiration that we might receive. So this is a good reminder of that. So let's not forget that might those be in our struggles, could also be in our good moments as well. Again, in our careers, in the moments of illness, or in the moments of health, maybe with our loved ones or with any other individual with whom we have any kind of relationship. So let's not forget our values, and let's put into practice. Let's put everything that we know in good use to assist us and to assist all of those around us, to provide us a solid rock, like it's mentioned here, and also to provide a strong foundation for all of those who surround us as well. I hope you liked today's conversation, And again, I would like to take the opportunity again to thank Kardec Radio for opening up channels like this one here and allowing the message of the gospel, the message of the Spiritist doctrine to be spread all over the world. And again, as a reminder, Kardec Radio is available in several different platforms. And Kardec Radio even has its own app where you can have access to podcast kind of programs, also with messages similar to the ones that we talked about today. So at this moment, let's close our eyes for our final prayer. Thank you, Lord, for the knowledge that has been brought to us in different ways, not only in this life, but in our past experiences. The knowledge that came to us through the gospel, through the Spiritist doctrine, the inspiration that we receive from our spiritual friends, from our spiritual mentor, also from the love and support from our friends and loved ones as well. Also, thank you for the moments of trouble, because those make us stronger, those make us wiser, those help us develop our patience and help us be more cognizant and better prepared to deal with any possible anxieties. May God's love be with us. May we always remember to connect to our spiritual benefactors and never, never forget that God is love, God is our Father, and whatever happens to us is always for our good. So be it.